One of the most historic tracks in open-wheel racing plays host to the Velocity Online Racing League IR-18 series. We're back to turning left once again, and tonight it's the Milwaukee Mile with qualifying on the move. Just about 18 drivers have taken to the track, getting qualifying laps on the run. 4 minutes left before the timing charts close, and 200 laps of racing are set to come our way in just a few minutes' time. Welcome back to FTN as we have ourselves a doubleheader, kicking off with some open wheel racing in Milwaukee. I'm David Kreutz, commentating and producing alongside Gary Godso tonight, as already we're seeing drivers take their first times. Coming back from two thrilling races, Zandvoort and Road Atlanta, we're getting a chance to once again head back to the ovals, and we're looking at another different style of racing. Milwaukee during the sunset. It's going to be the twilight hours all race long, constant race conditions, so drivers are going to have each and every lap to get used to what they're working with. It's not going to change, so we'll see maybe who's going to adapt the best as the race goes on to the field. We're looking, of course, getting everyone bunched up on this 1 mile long circuit. Not a lot of room, much like our last oval race at Phoenix, but it's still going to take a certain driver to, of course, maneuver around the course, get it just right with strategy, and, of course, be the best of the pack, as we are set to have very close qualifying times. Currently, the pole position held by 18 thousandths of a second. Gary Lovern at the top of the board, and the difference not clear just yet as to who's going to take that pole. Gary, as we open up our racing here in Milwaukee, already seeing some fierce competition for the pole position. How do you think this night's going to go forth as we are once again back on the ovals?
Well, we are steeped in super Indycar tradition here. Long time track on the Indycar schedule. For the longest time, this was the first race after the Indianapolis 500. Often what you would see, the stars and cars from the 500, they would, there were specifically like one-off drivers that would always race the 500. Sometimes you would actually see them, depending on how well they did in the 500, come back one more week and they would appear at the Milwaukee Mile. This always was one of the biggest attended races because everyone wanted to see for the first time in person. In the days before late night talk shows and social media, this was their first time to get to actually see the Indy 500 winner in person. But it's a very flat track. It's 1.015 miles. Turns, well, they're banked. There's banking there, not a lot of it. 9.25 degrees. Straights are actually had a little bit of banking on them as well. But here's the stat that most people don't realize, that there have been more IndyCar races at Milwaukee than there has been at Indianapolis. Milwaukee, for the longest time, appeared on the IndyCar schedule twice a season, whereas Indianapolis only appeared once a season. So there's been 115 IndyCar races here at Milwaukee, and starting again this year, thank God, we're going to start adding to that number because there'll be a doubleheader at the end of August and the beginning of September, where the IndyCars will return here to the famous, vaunted Milwaukee Mile. I'm excited. Alten is excited because he just turned a lap of 174.4, puts him on the pole. The Storm, Bruno Miranda, a 174.3. Lovern down now. He was provisionally there on the pole for a little bit with about 1:05 to play here, a 173.1. So two cars in the 174 mile per hour bracket. The rest of row two in the 173 mile per hour bracket, and then everything else in the field 172 and below. We still got some people that are going to go, and I think Jesper's probably going to try, Jesper Orman, who hasn't qualified yet, I think he's going to try the worst of first challenge once more.
16 drivers have taken a time with only 39 seconds left. So with that being said, I think just about everyone has taken their laps before we get things going tonight. We know the starting grid, and it's very close for the top two positions, but there's a clear gap from Bruno Miranda on back. Still close all throughout the rest of the field, though. Starting grid, as it stands, goes as follows. Your lineup for the Milwaukee 200 will be led by Julian Altena with a 20.644 and just 8 1/1000ths of a second behind Bruno Miranda, who was fighting fiercely for the championship lead. Your two big championship contenders line up on the front row, and they already look to be the ones to watch because you have to look a 1/10 of a second back to get to Gary Lovern. Gary will be starting in third at 20.799. Sebastian Kinder will be in fourth with a 20.817, and Liam O'Sullivan, who was quick at the ovals in Kentucky as we saw previously, and Phoenix as well, returns. Inside of row three, 5th position, 20.819. Mark Murphy is going to be 6th spot with a 28.79, and Pedro Bibel is 7th spot with John Christensen 8th, Joshua Tucker in the 9th position, and Patrick Zovazzi, off the heels of a first career podium, is going to round out the top 10 with a 20.991.
And the remainder of the field, starting here with Finney and the Big Kahuna at P11, Hunter Smith P12, Dan Inchen 13th, Alexander Bonnie 14th, Alec Vanden Bosch sitting there in 15th, Michael Deitch, I hope I'm saying that right, is sitting 16th, Jesper Orman 17th, and Bill Conley 18th, and as your 18-car field, it's about an average size for an IndyCar race here in the past, so there should be plenty of action to watch. Lap traffic might even play a little bit of a role, but we'll talk more about the history here at Milwaukee, the best line around the place as we get into the racing in here, and it's going to be fun. And pit road is very dangerous here to get on and off of.
Not a lot of room from start to finish here in Milwaukee. The narrow nature of the circuit is going to play a big part in how drivers approach the track all night long. Here's a better look at your starting grid, and you'll see Julian there at the top of the board, right alongside Bruno Miranda. Before we get things going, take a look at our point standings coming into the night. It's about as close as it can get before, of course, this race gets going. It's a 3-driver battle at the front of the field. Craig Forsyth is not with us. However, he is 6 points back on Bruno Miranda. Julian Altena is 15 points behind, and as such, those two drivers are the ones to watch in regards to the championship standings. I think it's going to be Altena Miranda with a big opportunity to gain, but Julian, of all people, is definitely going to need this race victory or a solid performance at the very minimum. It's a 15-point gap. With how good Miranda's run at these ovals before and recently in general, it's going to be tricky because he's once again up there on the front row. Championship standings very close. The strategy, though, comes down to 200 laps. You can't win into the first lap, but you can certainly lose it here. I think you just got to be a little patient, a little calmer, especially during that first half.
Getting ready to go green. We're going to see different lines here. These drivers, the low line's not necessarily the fastest line around here. See the extra bit of paving down there low. Pace car is going to duck off here really abruptly. Field's under command of Julian. Little accordion action in the back there. Here we go.
A quick jump out in front for Julian Altena, leading the way in the Milwaukee 200. Bruno Miranda going to be second right now, and Sebastian Kinder there in third. Top three gets away nicely, and the field rattles through the first few corners. Looks like it's going to be clean and green as all 18 drivers get to the start-finish line. Lap 1 already going to be out of the way, and Julian's got a lead of just about half a second.
Watch them spread out on that front stretch, pretty wide in the front stretch. Only a couple lines in the corners you can go. Julie now, see about a half a lane, full lane off the bottom. Exit high here, keep the momentum up, get a good run down the stretch. Got a pass for about 5th or 6th on further on back. Sullivan, Christensen, Tucker, getting pretty exciting back there. You run out of room, and there it is right there, just as I was saying it.
Immediate trouble. John Christensen going to be in the wall. Caution's out already, and you mentioned it, and we already see a little bit of a racing incident. John Christensen involved, and the caution is out. Let's take a look back and find out what caused it there. Just like too little room coming off the corner. Here's an instant replay as Christensen is going to get involved, and that will bring out the first caution of the night. You can see working on the high groove here, and it's going to be right there on the bottom. Joshua Tucker, and they both were looking for the same room. Too little, too late, and Christensen is sent down and in rapidly. That's going to bring out the caution. Looks like nobody else involved, and just like that, we are pacing once again.
Doesn't look like we have any takers for pit road quite yet. I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit further back some of those guys, as they're starting to or according on each other. Hopefully we got no contacts back there. See some people hit pit road. So I think Tucker might be going to take the opportunity just to top it off. Now there are tire limits here, so you might not want to put on a new set of tires, but you top it off the tank's not going to really hurt you.
And a few other drivers there to follow. You can see Dan Ench is in the mix. Jesper Orman go through. So you can see pit strategy already coming alive as a result.
So they're going to play the long game. So what they're hoping is that it stays green, and as the first pit stops come in, these guys will be able to last anywhere between 3 to 5 laps longer, maybe more, depending on how they're going to do their fuel management. And they're hoping in that period, that's when the caution falls. If not, they're giving up a lot of track position and not going to be able to gain a lot. So first things first, though, on this run, they gotta make positions up because they gave up all that track position, and that's just bonus passing those people. But the big thing is they're hoping now for a caution to happen in a very small window when they're out still running and everyone else is going to be a couple laps down or so, because you can lose a lap of your pitting. Mile oval. I mean, we're only talking lap times of 21 seconds, 22 seconds. So you're going to lose a lap on pit road. They're hoping in that time frame that they'll stay out, put a lap on the field, and a caution falls, and they'll have a lap up on everyone.
Now, the drivers we saw go into pit road, the one who loses the most time is going to be Joshua Tucker, from 9th to 15th on the order, but Tucker was involved in the incident, so that makes more sense. Dan Ench went from 13th to 16th. Jesper Uhrmann doesn't gain or lose anything, still going to be 17th right now. It looks like John Christensen is back on the track, though, so from 8th to 18th, Christensen is going to return to the circuit. Looks like got almost all the damage out the way, so there's a chance to keep on going.
Yeah, I'm looking at his camera over his roll bar. He seems to be hands are straight up and down. So I think that I think we're getting ready to go green here right now. I don't think he has his toe out there on the steering. So we're back green. Julian takes over.
Another great jump there for Julian Alton-Up. Bruno Miranda still lies in second, and the gap is cleared down to third. Looks like Sebastian Kinder not at all ready for that. Further on back, Gary Lovern already fighting with Mark Murphy, and it looks like the podium gets away clearly, but it really becomes more indistinguishable as you look further down the order. How about Gary Lovern right now with Mark Murphy going at each other, and this is the highest up battle all throughout the track. Murphy's going to go low. Gary Lovern tries to cross over down to the bottom, but just not enough of a run, and he'll have to settle for the time being, working it back to the middle of the circuit.
Tucker making hay. He's already passed Dyke, so he's up to 13th. Now looking at Vanden Bosch next. Michael Dyke, I think he's having a bit of an issue learning the car. I think you're telling me this is his first race in the series, so he's kind of learning the Indycar, and he's getting bypassed by a couple guys, but it'll come to him. The more repetition that you put into this, the more you get out of it. Julian has a comfortable lead now. About a second back to Bruno. Bruno about a second up on Seb Kinder.
And you can see that clear gap as we go through the front straightaway once again. And it's all about that jump. It looks like it's similar to Phoenix in that aspect. If you get away good, it's going to very much carry you throughout the early portion of the run. And Julian does appear to be quicker right now than Bruno Miranda. Caution out once again. Back of field. And it looks like the cause, as we look further back,
Alexander Bonney.
And right now on pit road, there is the number 27, Alexander Bonney, and we're going to take a look back. Here's the instant replay on what just happened.
Going in the 1 and 2. Gets back on the power, back in, just comes right around on him. A bit of a hard hit. He might be able to get that fixed. So he's in Dario Franchitti's inaugural Indy 500 winning livery there. That's the rain-shortened race. As I was telling you before the pre-race, though, Dario Franchitti, 3 Indy 500 wins. Never took one of them with the green flag. Everything was under caution for Dario. But 3 wins, nevertheless.
As we look back right now, under caution again for the second time, and it was another one-car incident. I mean, when it came down to Christensen, he took the brunt of the load and is now 3 laps down. For Alexander Bonney, more of the same as we're once again pacing. So some early cautions here in Milwaukee, and it's much bigger damage, I think, for this number 27 crew, because you saw the front end and the back end snapped off. So not at all a good start for that team, and it looks like while Christensen got back on the circuit, I don't know what to expect for Bonney and company, as it looks like they're going to remain on pit road for the time being.
So we got some more takers on pit road. Jesper again, Inch again. So they're just adding to their lap count over these guys when these guys have to stop. They're topping off their tanks again. I don't know. It's still a bit early to maybe be changing their tires, especially with tire limits here in this league. So if I was them, I'd just go in and top off the tank, keep the tires on there, knowing that my tires are probably going to be pretty well spent at the end of the stint. But also then it gives me an option to, at the end of the stint, maybe pit a little bit earlier as the window opens, maybe go a lap or two into that window when everyone else is pitted. And I'm staying out. I'll maybe pit a lap or two early, short fill, but I'll be getting new tires and a short fill on the tank, maybe come out and make some spots that way. But Julian up against the wall. He's not concerned about fuel mileage. But Bruno playing the wise game by staying down there at the bottom under caution. That means he's turning a shorter distance, or traveling a shorter distance around the track because he's on the low side, and he's saving precious drops of fuel that way.
Already seeing that strategy game come into play with your leaders. We haven't seen a lot of green flag racing just yet. However, that's going to become a bigger deal in the next 40-45 laps. Our estimated fuel window is just about lap 55 when drivers will come into pit road. We've seen a few do so already, so they might have the upper hand early on. But with the cautions back and forth so far, not going to be doing all too much for those who went down to pit road. See whether or not there's a little more of a benefit as the race progresses, but for the time being, everyone's relatively on a level playing field. Dan Ench right now looks to be the last driver on the lead lap, but Bill Colley just got back with the pack, so he'll cycle back to 16th. Alexander Bonney, John Christensen are at least one lap down. Bonney now going to go 2 laps down, and Christensen stays on the track. He's 3 down. Although it looks like now Bonney's got a lot less damage. He'll be able to perhaps get back on the circuit sometime soon. As you see, the front end, the wing is back, and it looks like the backside slowly but surely repairing as well. 1 lap to green now, so we'll be going back at lap 16, and Julian Altena has held control each and every lap so far. Bruno Miranda is in 2nd, and Sebastian Kinder is in 3rd. Top 3 has been solid all throughout this race. Mark Murphy's gained from 6th to 4th, and he's looking to maybe go a little bit more. We saw him aggressive on the previous run. Now we got to see what Julian can provide up to the high side. And restarting at the wall as the drivers are set to put the power down. The pace car is going to leave us, and this will be your 2nd restart of the day. Julian Altena coming right through, and we are once again under green. Altena with another blinding start up front.
Yeah, so what Julian wants to do now is set his bars, make his car tight going through turns 1 and 2. Because when you're not up to speed at 100%, you don't have all the downforce helping you. So he'll want to make sure that his cart's a little bit tight so it doesn't get loose on corner entry or exit of turn 1 and 2. Then readjust his bars by the time he gets to turn 3. So he's under normal power then. So also he's going to bring his fuel management up from level setting 8 to 1, which is full race rich. So a lot of things you do mental prepare when you bring these cars back up to green. So he's at 100% now. Wings, his roll bars and his weight jacker probably should be in their original race configuration. Always changing that weight jacker through the race, though. He made a different settings from the start of the run versus what he's going to be ending the run at. And another strategy that we talked about is the fuel.
And the yellow flag's out once again. Trouble for the 3rd time.
Colley.
And Colley, as you mentioned.
Not sure what happened there. Nope, we're still green.
And the yellow flag signal
still
was out.
Green.
But you can see there's no pace car.
Interesting. I don't see the... If the yellow was out on the back of Indy cars, and now we're going yellow. Okay, so the red light is flashing on the back of the Indy car. That means that we're at full course yellow. So if you don't see that red light flashing... okay, so let's also one thing. Can we go to an in-car of Bruno? And I don't know what happened with the problem, but let's go to in-car of Bruno. Show you what Bruno's looking at ahead. So you see that? That's not a tail light.
Well, it looks like Hunter Smith is the reason for this one. You see he's ripped up. So we do know what happened here.
Look at his wreck here. Yeah, let's go back and look at his, and I'll tell you what it looks like from an IndyCar driver point of view when it goes yellow if you're not watching everything. Okay, so here he is. Wow, 3 cars 3 wide in front of him. Dives in. Oh, back in, comes around and overcorrects. Maybe did he get help? Oh, another car involved.
Smith looks to have overcorrected to start the incident, came back down, and that's when things get tricky here. It looks like he tried to, or no, Michael Deitch got involved with Smith and major contact there, and he got brushed up multiple times. That's Smith's night already. He's going to park it and disconnect from the session. Trouble early for Hunter Smith, and the caution out once again. That was a quick yellow.
Yeah, I hate it for the new guy. Also got contact there. So but it looks like iRacing physics have taken over and snapped whatever broke on his car back into place. But going back to what I was talking about, doing the in-car on Bruno here real quick. If we look at Bruno's in-car, you see Julian ahead of him here, and that is not a tail light. That is just the red field is under caution light, and that's an Indycar thing. Also, if you look on his wheel, you see the yellow flashing lights there in the corners by where his thumbs are, and those are automatically triggered when race control triggers the yellow. That sends a signal out to all the cars, and then they will pick up the yellow signal in the car. That will turn the lights on not only in the back, but it will also turn the lights on their wheels. So that's how an IndyCar driver knows. If he doesn't hear it in his ear from his spotter, or he doesn't see it from one of the lights alongside here of the catch fence, which you see coming here into 3, he'll find out it's a yellow by the yellow flashing on his wheel and the red light on the car in front of him.
And we're taking a look at all those signals these drivers have to figure out whether or not it's a yellow. And it looks like, of course, from Bruno Miranda's perspective, seeing the pace car and, of course, Julian Alternate, and once more, looking at the track's lights as you go past the catch fence. A lot of signals here, and we're seeing them quite frequently so far in the first 21 laps. That's your third caution, and it looks like now we have 2 drivers officially retired from the session. So troubles early here in Milwaukee, and it's just looking for that racing room to pass is so tough because there's not a lot of banking to propel yourself around, so you really want to be on the lower side of the track. If you're running up high, it's become very tough to find that room adequate to pass. I think that's been the cause so far of the majority of our problems.
Well, track temp's also kind of cool, and so a warmer track, there's more grip there, and then it gets too warm, of course, it becomes really slippery. But when you're really cold, which we're at 68 degrees track temperature, there's not a lot of heat there. So they got to bring these tires up to speed. So we've seen only very short runs for the most part, where these tires really aren't clearly up to speed yet. Well, so we got Julian now. It has fields under his command. Pace car will move off here briefly. And Julian will make a decision when he wants to go. Pace car, once it clears those buckets, and now it's Julian's hands. When does he want to go? There he goes, and we're back going green.
Each and every start from Julian has been a clear gap to the rest of the field, and that's been the saving grace so far for this number 11 team. 23 laps in, getting the jump once again. Sebastian Kinder facing some pressure here as Mark Murphy goes down to the bottom side, and once again the fight is on. This time Murphy looking for third, and watching on board with the number 69 machine. Got close that time, has to lie back and goes up high once again. Going to be a bit trickier now trying to get that momentum. No push to pass on the ovals, unlike our past 2 races. Got to wait and get in that slipstream once more. And it's going to be a little bit longer for Mark Murphy to put the charge back on as he fades back just a bit.
Yeah, Mark's got a little bit of 1 mile practice in him this week. There was a race in the Elite Racing League IndyCar Series at New Hampshire. He was in that. Now, the difference between New Hampshire and Milwaukee is that New Hampshire's corners radius are a lot tighter. So if you were to lay these tracks on one on top of the other, actually portions of New Hampshire actually will lay inside the turns of Milwaukee here because of the radius. But he's been in 1 mile mode all week long, and he didn't have a great finish there, but not of his own making. But he's definitely got the reps in on a 1 mile track. Looking further on back, Orman up to 10th now. So he's moved his way up 7 spots. And, of course, he has a little bit heavier tank than everyone around him.
And he's right now the last man of the top 10 making those moves. Went down to pit road about 13 laps ago. So on a 14-lap stint, Joshua Tucker looks to be on the youngest stint of the entire field. 7 laps for Tucker, running in 11th right now. So pit strategy a bit different for some of the guys in the field. Michael Deitch, who got involved with that most recent yellow, going to be on a 6-lap run. So we do see some drivers already putting some new strategies to work as we get going once again here. There's a close bundle of cars. Liam O'Sullivan, Pedro by Bell and company, and it's going to be by Bell diving low, looking for 5th.
Yeah, by Bell just sets it, and he's going to slide up right in front of him. And it probably didn't help that O'Sullivan's blinking a little bit there, so he definitely wanted to get around that. A blinking car is just as good as, you know, a car that's doing a block on you, because you don't know when they're going to reappear. They could reappear right into you. So watch these lines. Oh, he's right down there in the yellow line. That's actually a rumble strip down there. And it gets a good launch off the corner. He's going to look to the inside. So they're going to be rumble strips on the inside here of the corner, right there. That separates the pit out road and the racetrack. You can get your car on that. You can get the left front on there to help you rotate through there. But if you put too much there, you'll spin. And we are cautioned again, and I think it's Finian Dacuna.
And Finion's going to be the cause of this one. 30 laps in, trouble for the number 94. Take a look back and find out what caused it. As you look here, coming through, it looked to be 3 and 4. You can see Finion alone, so it looks like nobody else involved, at least to start. Came through cleanly, then went down the front straightaway, and it looks like, once again, a lot of drivers having trouble through 1 and 2, and it just slides up. Nothing more can be done. Takes the back end.
Hopefully there's not a lot of damage to the back end. They can get that fixed. He seems to not be crabbing, so I don't know if his alignment's knocked out or the toe's knocked out. Hopefully it's just a new back wing. But yeah, we're sitting here and doing a bunch of 5, 6, 7 lap sprints, and then we're getting a caution, and the same thing kind of happened over and over again. We're getting a lot of single car back end coming around on corner entry. That's when you got to watch your tools, and you got to be on top of your tools. Now these drivers should be starting to see a pattern, and they should be adjusting their tools. So you want to have your car loose, you want it tight on that very first turn of the first lap, so you don't get loose as the car is coming up the speed. You don't have all that downforce. Physics are working against you. Next time by, you want to tighten your car up, because you've just loosened it up. Now you want to tighten up. Now we got pit road getting full. So hopefully these guys are beginning to notice that about 6 or 7 laps into a run, they want to start tightening their cars up, because I think we're seeing a lot of loose race cars early on.
And pit road just got busy. Winner off pit road going to be Jesper Orman up into 5th. So continuing to get more and more out of the car. Orman started in 17th and is now scored as your 5th place driver. So continuing to make those big gains as it stands. Bill Colley's going to be up to 6th. Bruno Miranda going to be 7th now. And Mark Murphy is in 8th. Julian Altena, Sebastian Kinder stayed out, and so did Pedro by Bell and Patrick Zovazzi. 4 drivers have not gone down to pit road this race at all. The rest of the field has gone down at least once. So right now it looks like Bill Colley's going to be coming in once again. Made the move down to pit road, so it's going to be a change in strategy for that team. And only now it looks like 4 drivers, Ben Jesper Orman, that's the way they come and go in and out of pit road. So a big shift there. That's our first major run down to pit road. And the question is, can we get the green flag racing in? A lot of this so far has been the short sprints, but we've already seen, for the most part, a pit cycle. Is that going to change the attitudes of these drivers as we get going?
So back in, I saw the comment in chat about being dark. So back in 2004, the Champ Car World Series, which is related, the records have all been absorbed into Indycar. We'll talk about that here in a second. There's 4 different IndyCar track records here at this track. Was a night race. They actually brought in portable night light generaters and lit the place up. And I think Julie was going to try to do that. And of course, this version of Milwaukee in the sim does not have lights. So that's why we're dark. But in the past, CART did have a night race here where they brought in portable lighting.
Perhaps we see Milwaukee with a night sky sometime in iRacing in the future. I'm sure with the developments regarding more racing at this track again in National Series, I know IndyCar returning. Of course, we're also seeing NASCAR's Truck Series previously go here, the ARCA Menard Series as well. Hopefully, we get some nighttime skies here in iRacing, but the sunset tonight, that will do. It's going to be Julian Altena up in front, and over the driver chat room, Julian saying that caution laps have been pretty boring, and I think we'd be inclined to agree. However, Alton has led every lap so far and has been dominant to this point. We're going to find out whether or not the number 11 can get the jump or if Sebastian Kinder can hold up this time. The pace car going to take that hard right, or rather left turn in. It's almost a right angle, but it's all clean for Julian Alton. Green flag out again, and it's once more a great jump.
Oh, watching Jesper and Miranda. Wow, Jesper threw a heck of a block on him. Legal block, but a block. So I think with enough caution now, we're looking at a two-stopper instead of a three-stopper, for sure.
And we can see now they're actually three wide right behind. They passed Michael Deitch, put him in the middle. That's Bill Colley working now right beside Joshua Tucker, the middle of the field.
Oh, car in the wall again.
Very close. And we got Dacuna once again with trouble.
I think it's Dacuna in the wall again, yeah. And he retired. So we're still under green, but I think he's had enough. He's like, I'm done. I'm out.
And trouble continuing to brew for that team. I don't know what else the 94 can do. From this point onward, it looks like out of this race. Just like that.
Could be a damaged race car, yeah. Could be a damaged race car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark Murphy fighting with Liam O'Sullivan right now. O'Sullivan going to be running in about the 8th position, looking to get back up there to Murphy, who currently holds it in 7th. So we'll see whether or not something can develop here as the drivers get going again. There was an incident, but no caution. So with that being said, the closest battle on the racetrack is going to be Alaric Vandenbosch and Gary Lovern here, and it looks like for the time being, the advantage is in the hands of the number 72. Joshua Tucker's also in the mix, and these drivers are fighting just on the outskirts of the top 10, but every point matters as the race progresses.
So over the course of history, there have actually been 4 governing bodies that have held IndyCar races here. AAA, and if you're thinking of this AAA, that is the one where you go get your reservations and triptychs from. That is the same AAA. They sanctioned every race here up until 1956, right? And the track record that's held for AAA is held by Ed Eliason. Now, why do I mention him? Well, he only turned a lap of 101 miles per hour, but it was only pole win in his 43 race 7-year career was right here. So poor guy gets his only pole right here at Milwaukee. USAC raced here up until about the early 80s, late 70s, and the track record's held here by Danny Ungaius, otherwise known as the Flying Hawaiian. Most people know Danny Ungaius by some of his horrendous wrecks he had in Indianapolis, but he had a pole speed of 134.9. So getting up with more downforce in these cars, we get into the kart era, and the track record was set by Patrick Carpentier in 98 with a speed of 185 miles per hour. But when IndyCar came back here, it slowed down. The cars were a little bit different formula by then. Helio Castroneves has the IndyCar record with a speed of 172.477. So it's been a series of ups and downs with the way the speed is done here, but I think most everyone doesn't really care about what generation of speed has the best speed here. It's just IndyCar's back on a track that it really belongs at. It should have never left in the first place.
And of course, the speed's much higher now than an average lap speed of 100 miles an hour. And about everywhere you go on this track, despite the distance and how short it is, I don't think they're going under 160 no matter where you put them. And that's the beauty of this. Even though it's a small circuit, it's big-time racing, and we're seeing good battles develop here, as I think we're into our longest stint of about 13 laps.
Yeah.
So we're getting somewhere here, that's for sure. It looks like it's a race of attrition already developing because 14 drivers are on the circuit going back to Michael Deitch. But overall, now we're starting to get in that longer form of the racing. The drivers who can't handle it, they're still here with us. And I think that's going to give way to much better driving as this night goes on. And all of the conditions won't change. The strategy definitely going to play out a little different than how we saw it early in the going.
So we talked about the fuel window being 52 to 57 laps, but with all the caution, we're actually now into the 60s and 70s that we're expecting kind of the first stop to happen. So we're looking now probably at a two-stopper where they'll stop just shy of 100, and then probably just shy of 200. We got a car on the backstretch wall. I'm not sure who it is, but we're still green. But anyways, like I was saying, we're going to see probably a pit stop about 70. And then about lap 140.
And we got trouble big time with Bill Colley and Dan Ench. And just as we said we were getting going somewhere, I don't think they're going to throw the caution. It hasn't gone out yet, but they're destroyed. 2 drivers again. I don't know if they got anything left in it.
Let's check the replay and see what happens.
And we're taking a look right now. Colley, Alaric Vandenbosch, they're going to be both practically out of this race. And you see Colley going up on the high side here. Looked to get the pass, got in the wall, and they got into each other. That's just how it goes.
Up the gray, bounces off the wall. Little net code then collects, and now we got real contact. They're just bouncing off each other. Deitch does a real good job of dodging that one. Of course, if you're saying that he's in one of your other series of stock cars, everything's moving a lot faster now for him, so you want to keep everything pointed downrange, at least certainly your eyeballs. And he avoided that one, but 2 cars are destroyed, still under green.
Now, one other link.
So, yeah, we're looking at about 140. Yeah, we're at 140 or so, 150 or so for that second pit stop, and then they'll be good to go to the end. So definitely a 2-stopper now for those that haven't stopped.
And that was a very fortunate one because it takes out 3 drivers. I mean, the damage was huge, and that's the unfortunate nature because I don't think we're going to see many other yellows from this point. 12 drivers it was, now 11 on the circuit going back to Michael Deitch. And you mentioned it, rookie in this series. However, he's doing the FTN double, and if you're watching later tonight, he'll be racing once again, avoiding that incident. And it was a close call as I saw him fly through our replay camera. And now he might be in the cards for a top 10. However, he's in jeopardy of going 1 lap down. Julian catching up quick. And an 0.8 of a second lead. You look back to Seb Kinder. Still, Kinder is within range, but nothing close in terms of a pass. That time by, Kinder was just about 4/100ths of a second slower. They're close in terms of times, but really nobody has what it takes right now to pass Julian. As Jesper Orman's looking for 4th on Patrick Zilvazzi. Zilvazzi broke through for a first career podium last week and only 1 spot away from a back-to-back top 3 run. It might be taken away here as Orman looking quick.
So 10 drivers in the course of IndyCar history have backed up their win at Indianapolis by coming to Milwaukee and then winning the race at Milwaukee. The one notable one, which is very interesting, is Juan Pablo Montoya. He won in the Indy 500 in 2000 and then came back here the next week in the kart series and won here in the kart series. So he's the only driver to actually win back-to-back wins in 2 different tank sending bodies and in 2 different cars in the same year.
Something you don't quite see on sim racing, but once again, that's just the legend of the real drivers who get to do it. Of course, you don't get the chance to practice all the time when you're doing it in the physical sense. That's one thing these drivers have as an advantage, though, and I think for the drivers who practice more, it's showing right now. But in reality, especially with a track like Milwaukee, not a lot of tracks parallel its driving style. So if you're not used to it, you gotta, of course, internalize the few chances you get at the track, and that's why seat time is so important right now. And you're seeing drivers adapt as the race progresses, and seeing better battles as the race goes on. So this is all a learning process, especially in the first 100 laps, I feel, and that's gonna continue to dictate the driving style as Pedro Bibel is slowly gaining on Sebastian Kinder, about 1/10 of a second faster that time by. It might be a consistent trend as we're gonna watch and see if there's a pattern.
Bibel's looking at Kinder there. That's a good battle. But one of the all-time greats of IndyCar racing we don't really talk about is the career wins leader here. Roger Ward, 2-time Indianapolis 500 winner, had 7 wins here at Milwaukee over the course of his career. I'll just tell you how long this racetrack has been here. It's been here forever. Part of the fairgrounds at Wisconsin State Fairgrounds. Actually, the headquarters for Harley Davidson, not too far away, or used to be not too far away.
A historic venue, as you mentioned it there. A lot of motoring history, not just motorsport in itself. I think that all adds the essence of this circuit here, as you see. 60 laps in, Bibel trying to chase down Sebastian Kinder. Still all Julian Altima as it stands, and it looks like Dan Ench is back on the track 11 laps down, so Ench will not give in and races once again. It looks like it's going to be Ench going around in 12th. Michael Deitch about a few car lengths away from being passed, but Kinder's now going for it. And you see the 97 and Pedro Bibel.
So Julian is now being thrown off by the aero push and the aero wash given off by a Deitch. So Julian wants to get around it because that's impacting the way that he gets through these corners. And then Kinder driving an entirely different line. See Kinder up an entire lane, getting clean air on those wings, getting nice fast exit speed. All of a sudden, this closed the gap to Julian. And we're also getting close to the end of a run here. We're about 20 laps away for sure for pit stops to happen. So Kinder reeling him in, looking good.
And we'll see how close Alternate is now to the frame with Sebastian Kinder. It looks like right now Julian's slightly making some gains. One driver in Patrick Zovazzi. So pit road going to be open once again as it's going to be Zovazzi on the Wade Jackson back on the way. For Alternate though, it's a 4-car gaggle for the lead. Jesper Orman's now in the mix too. So this is huge. And since Michael Deitch has the right to defend, he's doing nothing wrong here. He's just running his race. There's nothing more that can be done.
Okay, so Julian says, screw it, I'm pitting.
And Kinder gets tagged. Caution's out.
I think Kinder was trying to come in, and Bybel ran over him. So now Julian probably, did Julian get in before it went caution?
Now, that he might have to.
He might have to drive through. He's hitting his spot. So I don't know if he hit pit road before the caution. Might have to rewind on his in-car to see if I see those lights pop on.
And we're going to take a look back one more time at the incident here. You see Kinder with Bybel, and Julian made the very quick decision to come in, signaled it, and Kinder hits the brakes.
No, he was in before the caution.
Clearly in, yes.
He was in before the caution.
And that is huge. That's going to be a strategy shifter for just about everyone in the field. Yellow flag is out for what now is the 5th time tonight, and the caution once again returns to the circuit. Julian going to get very lucky on getting in just about a second before, and with the caution out once again, everyone's in this time. No excuses here, and it's going to be a big shuffle. Julian's on the track, going to be the winner off pit road no matter what. Bruno Miranda gets out second, Jesper Orman is third, and Mark Murphy is fourth. Pedro Bybel falls back big into 5th, so a gain for Miranda, and definitely going to help out Jesper Orman even more. That was a very close fight. Wow, and Michael Deitch now going to be back with the pack.
I think Seb might have been trying to get the pit road. I think he might have been trying to get the pit road. You hear him kind of coming off the accelerator and a lot, and then he just got plowed into by Bybel. I want to look at Bybel's point of view and see what he had to look. But Bybel is on the inside trying to make that pass work. And I want to see what Bybel is looking at here.
And we're going to take a look
back. He got a good run.
And looking one more time at the wreck from Pedro Bybel's perspective. Let's see what happened.
So this is all a product of that difficult pit road entry that I was telling you about early on. That is not you don't see that pit road entry at any other oval on an IndyCar schedule. That is coming off of Ford and almost making an immediate left-hand turn to get on the pit road. There's no gradual merge lane like you would see on a highway somewhere, or even in Indianapolis or any other oval for that matter. It's an abrupt slow down and get on the pit road, and those cones come up on you really quick. So I'm thinking that's what the deal was there.
We mentioned the danger of that pit road entry before the broadcast got going, and that's a perfect example of it. Julian going to get lucky there and barely make it through. We got 10 drivers on the lead lap, 12 on the track, but I don't know if Seb Kinder's got anything left for us here, as you'll see. Going to be on pit road, 2 laps down. I think there might be a chance to return, as Dan Ench is now 10 down and got a lap back or 2 throughout the process. So 67 laps in, now on a 68. Ench is going to be the man who gains the most. If that number 52 is still all right, maybe we're going to see him get back a few laps more as the race goes on. Going to be tricky, though, as he's going to be a total of 10 laps down this time by. He'll need a few cautions to return up to the front of the field. I don't know if that's going to be possible. Even with the way we've been having cautions, it just looks like there's a little too much time already used up in this race for there to be a real chance. However, still trying, and I'll give him that much.
So Dan gets the wave around there, and that's an IndyCar rule. So I think the league has the lucky dog rule and the wave around rule enabled, and that just allows very simply for the leader to bring who earned the right to be leading the field. They earn the right also to bring the field back to green under their command. So Julian then gets that because of the wave around. Then the field will be turning over to him momentarily when the pace car goes away. And then Julian has that right. Do I want to start immediately? Do I want to start late? But that's something he earned, and he goes right away.
And that jump each and every time, that's about a half a second gain. And once again, we're back on the move. 69 laps in, a very nice jump to kick this off. And Bruno Miranda going to be second now. Jesper Orman, we'll see if he's got the pace here, as we saw how close those 4 drivers got with the lap machine of Deitch, bringing
Bruno. Oh, and we got side-by-side Orman and Murphy, so battles for first, second, third, and fourth.
And Bruno Miranda takes the lead. For the first time tonight, and Murphy new race leader.
Oh, Murphy side-by-side still with Orman. But the Brazilian Storm, Bruno Miranda up to the lead. Not sure if Julian just didn't come up to speed well enough, or you know, it really, you know, if you're on it, really, if you're on your skill set, the second that you see that car start to move in front of you for the green flag, you got to be on your pedal. A lot of people don't realize that you have to immediately be on that pedal, or you're just not going to. You're going to lose that gap, like you were talking about. And Bruno on the pedal and kept that momentum and got the lead there off the restart.
And that's a huge change for Miranda, new race leader, and from second on the grid, finally getting a chance up in front. Now it's going to be Julian in second. The closer battles are in the middle of the field once again. You look at Liam O'Sullivan running in sixth, the middle of a 3-car pack here. Pedro Bibel is going to be about the 5th spot right now. It looks like no contention for that spot, at least for the time being. The
I wonder how much damage might be on Bibel, if anything. I wonder if there might be any damage on Bibel. I mean, we did see the contact, and we did, of course, see iRacing physics take over and things snap back into place. I'm not sure if he has any damage on that, on the underbody for anything. But Julian, not used to being in traffic, not used to being that. And we saw this when he was coming up on lap traffic. He's got a good run on Bruno now. Take a peek to the inside. But Julian, not used to being and running in traffic. He's been out front all day, and well, doesn't take much time to reel back in Bruno. Bruno's not out of it yet. He's got the higher line, the faster line, the more momentum. Big mode is big here. Down low, Julian using the rumble strips to help the car rotate. Julian is clear. Could have moved up if he wanted to. Bruno still on the high side. Now Julian can squeak up a little bit, give him some dirty air. But here comes Jesper, as these guys are fighting, not paying attention to what's in the mirrors, and it's full of Jesper Orman at the moment.
And just like that, Julian returns to the top of the board. Now, I'm not quite sure whether or not that was intentional in letting up on the lead early. We saw a big jump off the restart, but maybe a little bit of bobble through the first 2 turns. Either way, that gives an opportunity for the caution to fly. Gary Lovern, the back bumper, the back end destroyed.
Yep.
A bump up perhaps with the wall again. This looks familiar to a time or two ago with the cautions.
Yep.
And Gary Lovern going through 1 and 2. That might have been what kicked it off. And you see Michael Deitch there. We'll see if they got involved.
We're at that point in the run very early. I mean, we're only 6 or 7 laps into the run, and that's we've seen this before. So they should know by this point how these cars react as the tires come up to temperature. And I think what we're getting is a lot of right rears that are hot, that are not adhering, and they're slipping. And that's what's making the car loose. And you would think by now that they would have the adjustment made to expect that. But, you know, sometimes you get caught up in the moment. I'm not saying anything against Gary. I'm just saying you get caught up in the moment, and then I forgot to change my tools. And by the time you think about it, it might be too late.
And looking through, very similar to multiple cautions already. And Gary Lovern through 1 and 2. Huge trouble again. And it looks like Michael Deitch, one of the many who flew by it, and he reported in the chat room that he was definitely afraid of making contact there. We'll look on board with the 51 because it looks like Dan Ench also went by. Close call for the both of them there, as it's going to be Gary Lovern with trouble. Although I don't know if it's going to be major, as it once again, very similar to the previous yellow flags, should be reparable, akin to perhaps early in the race, someone like John Christensen or Joshua Tucker. Take a look one more time with the 51 getting away from it, just had to back it down, and all is well there as another driver is going to be put at least 1 lap down.
So Ench getting the lucky dog. So we do have the lucky dog rule enabled in this. Lucky dog is not a real world IndyCar rule. It's just a league rule here for fun.
And Ench getting back down the way. You mentioned that. Now 9 laps down. So slowly gaining here. It's maybe possible.
So Julian stopped at 65, everyone else at 66. So if we think about doubling that and then adding the caution laps, so we're at 130. Like I said, about 140, I think, is where the next pit stop is going to be. And then they're good to go from that point on. So we've because of all the caution, and look at Julian going to the inside. Now it's coming back out. I'm not sure why he just didn't stay the inside. Help his mileage all the way around. There he goes. But 140, and then they're good to go to the end. So this race started as a 3-stopper, and all the cautions now have made it a 2-stopper. That's if you're just doing a minimum stop strategy, is a 2-stop strategy.
And the question is, of course, can we get back to the green flag for long? 1 lap to green this time through, so a shortened caution, and Julian will lead him back at lap 80 to get things going again. Bruno Miranda previously held the race lead, and it's going to be time to find out whether he can once more. Nice jump from Julian, and we're back on the way.
See if Bruno can reel him back in. That's a big jump to Julian. Bruno's going to have to get the momentum up a little bit.
I don't think it's going to be possible, at least for now. Looks like Julian gets the jump, and it's going to be 0.6 of a second immediately. Closest battle going to be further back with Patrick Zovazzi and Joshua Tucker. In the back of the field here, the drivers dealing with that dirty air. They're still fighting each other just about as hard as anyone else. And Zovazzi right now trying to get back to Tucker, but I think that dirty air is getting to him here. A little bit of contact out of 2, and just slowly fading back. That's the trouble. It's going to be very hard to pass all night long, no matter where you are on the circuit. And that nature of Milwaukee is really coming back in as we get closer to halfway. Single file for every driver right now, and anyone running is going to be just about locked in for a top 10, because Dan Ench, 9 laps down, is set to pass Gary Lovern. Lovern is now 5 laps down with no signs of action on pit road. It's going to be Michael Deitch, the final man driving in the lead lap right now, and you look up in front, Jesper Orman once again slowly gaining on Bruno Miranda.
And when that battle develops, that's going to be a quality battle, I'll tell you. Those 2 guys are hard chargers.
I think we're, of course, going to see a little bit more from Orman in the next few laps if we stay green. We saw how quickly he pulled it together last time, and he's once again there, less than 1/4 of a second. And just like that, I think there's a chance for Orman to get right back into the mix. Closer and closer every lap now. It's going to be Bruno Miranda running a little bit lower by the seam, but that's been risky for a few drivers, and that's been the cause of a few more cautions. As it stands, it's going to be Miranda dropping down to the inside line as the caution flies again.
I'm not sure who it was.
I don't see any signal leading me to believe it was any driver in particular. Sebastian Kinder, Lovern on pit road. Yellow is out, though. Nobody looked to be slowing down, but the caution flies again.
The mystery caution, so I'm not sure what happened. I think it might have been Seb Kinder.
And Seb just disconnected from the session, so we'll find out whether or not it was him. We're looking at an aerial shot of the track to maybe give us a clue. Yep, it was Kinder, and we're going to back it up. As you can see, looks like he was gliding into turns 3 and 4, and it just let loose and went away.
That's just a sign of a broken car.
And that will be
but good etiquette on him to punch out quickly, because the leaders were right behind him.
And it looks like we see pit road once again. Take a look. It's going to be Jesper Orman going in. Bruno Miranda as well. It's going to be the majority of the pack all at once. And we are once again going to be getting ready for the cycle. So 140 would be perhaps as the race goes on and we get to that next point. But Kinder just got back into the session, so I don't know if he's done, but definitely going to back it out immediately to make sure nobody else makes contact. Orman is not going to win off pit road. Bruno Miranda barely makes it out in front of him. And just like that, back on the way, Miranda gets out. There are 3 drivers left who have not gone down to pit road in this stint. Julian, Pedro Bibel, and Liam O'Sullivan.
Well, Inch gets another lucky dog wave around. So he's now 8 laps to the rear of everyone else here. So, as you mentioned, maybe luck might be with him, but I'm not sure why the leaders didn't pit and everyone else did. I mean, everyone that did still has to stop again. So maybe they're thinking that they need the new tires. I don't know. I think track position is everything, and I think these guys with older tires might be able to keep it. We're getting ready to go green. Here we go. I think they could keep the cars behind them at bay with dirty air. We'll see, but I think that might be the case.
And Julian gets that jump right now. It looks like it's going to be everyone single file. One driver who's getting close already looks to be Mark Murphy. Murphy going to be battling with Jesper Orman here, and Orman, as soon as he was going for second, gets slotted back into fifth with another quick pit stop. And those have really been a trouble for these drivers. The consistency not there all night long because the strategy's been up in the air just about the entirety of the night. One driver is going to drop down to apron is Gary Lovern, and you see he's back on the way, 11 laps down, so he's back on the move and right in front of Dan Ench, the other lap machine still driving, and now the battles are a bit closer. Joshua Tucker with Jesper Orman, and Michael Deitch is going to be fighting with Patrick Zilvazzi further on back. However, the leaders are close too, and there's Pedro Bibel. You can see that number 88 machine getting closer and closer, whereas Julian Altima also has Liam O'Sullivan to keep in mind, and just like that, it's going to be the closest the race lead battle's been in 40 laps.
Now those top three have pulled away from Bruno. Bruno just stopped, so I don't know if they're working with one another. Oh well, Babel to the inside. O'Sullivan was looking. Babel's got to be careful when he makes those high exits. The wall comes up on you really quick here, really quick. And Sullivan gets the spot on Bibel. So now Bibel can look at attacking Julian.
But still not clear. They're side by side once again. Pedro Bibel trying to make something happen on the bottom here.
I think Sullivan almost hit the wall. I told you, when you're running that high, the wall comes up on you really, really quick. Maybe right along the top of his bar here. See what it looks like in his point of view. High entry, cutting down to the white line. Gotta watch that exit. There's the wall on top of you. That's a pretty safe exit for him there.
Taking a look in, touching the rumble strip on the way out for Pedro Bibel. It was a very close call off the corner once again.
Yeah, it helps the car rotate if you can get down there and just clip him a little bit.
And coming off the stripe, Bibel going to be second for the time being. Liam O'Sullivan drops back into third, but in no jeopardy of losing any other positions as you look back to Bruno Miranda, then Joshua Tucker, and Jesper Orman going to be there in the sixth spot. You look back, there's going to be Mark Murphy, then Patrick Zilvazzi, and eventually Michael Deitch. 9 drivers working on the lead lap. Gary Lovern went down a pit road once again, and he's now 16 laps down, so going to be tricky for him to recover as the night goes on. Maybe we'll see something out of these lappers. Dan Ench is still going 8 laps down and currently finds himself in the middle of the field as Zilvazzi has trouble and the caution flies again.
I was just getting ready to say that new tires are not the edge. Track position now is the edge tonight, and now we're moving this last pit stop now into the 150-ish neighborhood. So we do these more cautions, and yeah, same thing again, except this is on exit. This is on corner exit. Whoop, back in, boom.
And looking at it once more, coming right out of 2 and gonna come back up. Unfortunate there for Zilvazzi. It's a very familiar yellow to what we've seen before, and a lot of drivers still having that trouble. Once again, gonna be back under caution. We're coming around halfway this time through, so made it this far, and seeing who's had the dominant pace tonight. Julian, and gonna take everyone down to pit road once again. It looks like everyone knows now these cautions are frequent, so why not make the most of it with another scheduled service stop?
They'll still have to stop again. So this will get them into probably the 170 neighborhood, give or take. And then a splash to the end. But they still have to stop again, that's for sure. Julian loses some positions. Miranda's out. And the reason why is that they had a shorter fill. That's the difference. They had a shorter fill.
So Bruno Miranda going to be able to take the race lead. It's going to be 1 lap to green this time by another shortened caution. So we're going to be heading back through turns 3 and 4 to the green flag racing. We've seen our fair share of cautions tonight. However, with continued troubles, we're now got ourselves 8 drivers on the lead lap. We'll see who hangs it together the best from here. Seb Kinder looks to be done for the night. That's for certain here. Zovazzi, more the same. Green flag flies with Miranda back on the move, and we've just found our way a lap from halfway.
O'Sullivan and Bybel. Oh, there was contact there. Tucker gets the pass on his teammate. Bybel had to definitely check up there side by side. They were all going for the same real estate in turn 1, coming up to speed. I like the Michael Dyke strategy, though. I like the Dyke strategy. He's had his own issues tonight, but he's keeping everything in front of him and just staying on the lead lap. Everything will come back to you.
And so far, it's worked pretty well, up to a guaranteed top 10. There's still a chance for a top 5 the way things are looking, so why not get away from the trouble and let it come right back to you and take those positions. Worked out to this point. Dan Ench is 7 laps down, so he's slowly gaining, and Ench, as a matter of fact, has a guaranteed top 10 the way things are looking, as he's set to pass Patrick Zovazzi within the next 3 or 4 laps, so watch out as Ench is set to take another. Bruno Miranda leads from Jesper Oerman, and for the first time all night long, Julian is no longer inside the podium. Matter of fact, you're going to be in 4th here. So troubles for Altena in terms of this early going, but there's a lot of time left. 99 laps, in fact.
Yeah, it's not so much troubles. It just he had a longer fill in the pit, so he stayed in the pits, his box longer because of the longer fill than the guys in front of him who just pitted not too long before. They were only like 10, 15 laps into that stint. Julian was more into the 30-lap neighborhood for that stint. Actually, Julian was 33 laps in this last stint. Bruno, Jesper, and Murphy were only 11 laps in their stint. So that's the difference in fuel that they had, was 22 laps. So it was a more fuel had to get into Julian's car to get him full than the other 3 guys, and that's how they got out in front of him.
And right now, that difference is clear as Julian runs about 3 seconds from your leader. And the clean air is such an advantage right now because Miranda showed no big signs of running away with the lead, but has held about a half-second lead, if not more, all throughout this stint. We're only 7 laps in, but we've seen stints that have run shorter, so it's going to be good pace for Miranda to hold up, at least for the time being, as we're prepared to go the distance from this point onward with one more stop at the minimum, but we'll see how that plays out as the race goes on. At least one stop at about 170, you said, was about the marker, so no matter what, pit road will be busy again.
Yep. And one thing that that we share with the NASCAR counterparts is that they refill their cars with those tanks of fuel. Now, Indy cars are fueled by a single hose that acts as a vent as well. And it's a gravity-fed system, so it's not pressurized. So the fuel tanks, when we look at pit road, they're up on stands, and that is needing for the gravity to pull the fuel out of those tanks and then put them into the car. So they're gravity-fed fuel cells. And the more earlier in the race, pit stops typically are quicker in real IndyCar racing because the tank's full and there's more pressure pushing down on that fuel to get out. Later in the race, the fuel doesn't flow as much because there's not as much fuel in the tank.
And as it stands, everyone getting set up for the final stretch all single file. I'd love to know, though, who's saving that fuel as this race has progressed. I know right now a lot of these drivers not actively fighting for position, most of them as a matter of fact, so maybe there's a few
I think everybody has to stop again. I think everybody has that, so there's no point in saving. Go. I think everyone has to stop again.
That being said, it's still going to be tricky to figure out when they decide to go down. Maybe there's going to be an undercut in place, but I don't also think that's going to be what happens here. I think at this point, with 91 to go, everyone's going to try to go as long as they can and not worry about going in early necessarily. least for the time being, it's going to be all about letting the strategy play out, and that seems to be the case because it's now 8 drivers left on that lead lap, and everyone running on their own, running their own pace, and letting the laps go by. So progression until the very end. Most drivers fighting 1 or 2 around them, and you can see now Pedro Bybel, Joshua Tucker getting close. Tucker trying to make a charge, and he's been quicker last few laps.
Bruno with the purple lap. We said it a while ago, 20.9. It's 171.9 miles per hour around this place.
And right now, the quickest on the track as well, 21.238. That time by nobody within the 2 range, save for the number 78. So Bruno Miranda clearly is the quickest driver, and I don't think that's going to change with that clean air in mind. That's a huge, huge advantage. And with that being said, I don't think it's going to change.
Yeah, Bruno, last 5 laps, he's a 21.2. Jesper's a 21.3. Mark Murphy's a 21.3. Julian's a 21.3. Last 10 laps, as we dig deeper into this, Bruno a 224. Orman 21.267. So over a 10-lap period, Bruno is just a tick faster than Jesper. So he's pulling away. Got himself a 1.1 second lead. Now Jesper could still, at 1.1 seconds, feel the draft going down these straights and definitely feel the dirty air in these corners. Because outside of a second and a half, he won't have that problem anymore. And now he's closed it within 0.8 now. Because Bruno, he's now experiencing the bad air of Dan Inch.
So coming up on a lap burn, you can see that gap is closing quickly. It's already down to about 0.7 of a second, but Ench lets him go by very fast, so no trouble there.
Yep, none.
Now the question becomes once again about Michael Deitch as this run has gone on. He's 14 seconds back and has played the much calmer route of every driver. Not really pushing much all throughout this race. Still laying the cautions, get him back with the leaders time and time again. But we saw when Julian caught up to this number 51, it became the most intense battle for the lead all night long. Now with Bruno still a few seconds away, we got about 20-odd laps until they catch each other. But when they do, it's going to be a huge chance for Jesper to once again gain that time, run back to the end of that number 78 who's leading. I think for Miranda, he's got to keep an eye on what's going to happen with Michael Deitch and get around him quickly. That might be the biggest change of the race.
I think you're about 7 laps away from getting direct contact with Michael, probably more like a lap of 5 laps where he will be in contact with Michael's air. So we'll see. It's 6.9 seconds. It used to be 8 seconds a couple laps ago. So now Michael, what he's going to want to do is pick up the pace once he sees these guys and just fight like mad to stay on the lead lap. And what don't have here on ovals very often is that blue flag. You'll see it on road courses in the sim, but in the road on ovals on the sim, we do not get the blue flag. So Michael is at his leisure to fight for that position as hard as he wants to stay on the lead lap. Now, once he gets passed by the leader, and maybe Jesper passes him well and Mark does, maybe he might want to lay off trying to fight the leaders that much because his opportunity to get his lap back is 3 cars in front of him. Maybe he waits for the next yellow and gets the wave around. But or the lucky dog, excuse me. But he is in his right to race the leader as hard as he wants to try to stay on that lead lap. So we'll see that here very soon, very, very soon. It's now 5 seconds to Dyke.
17 seconds behind our leader overall, and eventually they're going to come back together. One battle that's getting close is Liam O'Sullivan and Pedro Bybel. O'Sullivan right now going to be the driver looking to chase down Bybel in 6th, and the gap has been less than 2/10 for about 10 laps here. We saw a glimpse of them previously, but now we're going to be watching on board with a 63, and you can see for O'Sullivan right now getting a nice carry of momentum off of turn 4 and making it down to the front stretch. But I don't think there's room to dive into one as he gets caught up in the wall and doesn't cost him too much, but definitely gonna have to back off through the first 2 turns here as Bybel is catching the wall as well through the back straightaway. So these 2 drivers are fighting for 6th right now. It's gonna be 6th and 7th respectively. I think Bybel is starting to pull away.
Yeah, Bybel is using the bottom lane, using the rumble strips in turns 1 and 2 to help the car rotate.
And so far, everything's worked out well for Bybel in keeping that spot. He's kept himself solidly in 6th. Joshua Tucker's up ahead, who took the 5th spot and has run away with it. And Julian Alton is still going to be running in 4th right now, maybe making up some time to Mark Murphy, but that would be all, as Mark Murphy that time by was about 1/10 of a second slower than Julian, and actually looks to be about on pace with Pedro Bybel in 6th. So Tucker and Julian alike are just about quick.
I was watching Bybel, this battle with O'Sullivan, and bad exit on corner 4 for Bybel. And gets Sullivan right up to him again.
And you take a look at how close they are once more, and it's been a game of inches as of recent, but Bybel trying to get that corner exit off 4 again. It looks better than last time, and enough to hold on to the spot with 74 laps to go. At least for now, Pedro Bybel is holding that position nicely, and the air has been a big deal, as we mentioned, that aero wash. And I think for Liam O'Sullivan, you have to think about it in terms of his equipment too, burning up the tire and trying to find a way around, but just hasn't been able to do so. So every lap he waits, or every lap he has to wait, it becomes that much harder to make a pass.
Everybody's settling in. They've learned their lessons. Now they know how the car reacts. Now, what we haven't quite seen, and maybe those that were on that alternate strategy that stayed out before the first pit stop might have a preview of, because they know what their car is going to feel like when it's lighter and on worn tires, is what's going to feel like late in a run. Most everyone else has been on back on pit road well before the run. They're not quite sure how the car will feel that late into a run, unless they practice on a full tank yet. Maybe they already know that.
Perhaps
that's a big step, because your car is going to your car is going to operate way differently in any form of racing, really, how it does in the beginning of the run and the end of the run.
I think right now it's going to be a big difference here for Bruno Miranda. He's coming up on Michael Deitch and Dan Ench at the same time. Ench is going to be first and foremost. Then there's Michael Deitcher, rather vice versa for Miranda. It's going to be a 2-for-1, and you can see the gap beginning to shrink. 0.6 of a second. Ench goes down to pit road quick, and now it's going to be Miranda facing off against Michael Deitch. And this might be, of all drivers, the most important to pass. We saw it before. Now it's going to be a very, very close proximity. Miranda coming up quick, trying to find a way. He'll go down low. He's looking, and Michael Deitch will go up top, and it's going to be a very easy pass. And Jesper Worman gets around as well.
Yeah, I thought he was going to run out of racetrack there for a minute, but stays out of everyone's way. Doesn't really impede too much. Does allow Jesper to get within 5/10. But we'll now got clean racetrack again. Next car up on the road is Lovern, who might be exiting pit road here.
And it looks like for Gary, we still see him there, but he's been on for about 16 minutes and goes a total of 54 laps down. So I don't know if we're going to see anything left of Gary Lovern tonight.
Yep, you're
Just
right.
looks like he's been there consistently.
Yep, you're probably right there.
Not much else from Gary Lovern. Everyone's settling in nicely, as you mentioned. As it stands, 7 drivers on the lead lap, going back to Liam O'Sullivan. And what was Julian Alton as dominant early has become Bruno Miranda up at the top of the board and looking better and better as this race has gone on. Now, a reminder for the viewers watching at home, the championship battle, it is becoming closer and closer. Miranda, Forsythe, and Julian Alton are all fighting each other at the top of the charts. And you can see with Miranda's strong performance today, it's a very big opportunity to jump up to the clear lead of the point standings. And I think right now that's going to be what this 78 crew has their eye on. The points lead, maintaining it from here on out, and a great win at Milwaukee here, leading oh so many laps as well. It's a huge deal for this team if they can steal it, but 137 laps in, there is still a ways to go. And for the driver who's battled from 17th on up, nobody knows better what it's been like to get through the field than Jesper Worman, and he's about a half a second away now.
And pretty stable at that interval at this moment.
No major changes to the difference between first and second. It looks like once again Bell and Liam O'Sullivan going to flare up just a bit. They're separate by about 0.4 of a second once again. And you can see them with 63 laps to go coming through turns 3 and 4. Not a major change so far. Drivers are close, but it's one thing to catch someone, but another thing entirely to pass them. And that's been the big difficulty. Not a lot of passing in the later stages of this race, and almost the opposite of the consistent cautions we saw in the first 100 laps, because so far we really haven't seen much of that aggressive driving. It's been more so running one's race and not interfering with another driver. At least for now, Michael Deitch gets away. He's going to let most of the lead lappers go right by, and that's going to give Joshua Tucker an opportunity to maybe flare up a bit more and get closer to Julian here. And you see Julian's going to be running in fourth, now about 0.4 of a second ahead from Tucker. So maybe there's a chance now for Joshua to make up a bit more time and perhaps go for a spot here. 60 laps to go as he comes across the lap.
Track position is everything now.
And that's for certain. 0.2 of a second. O'Sullivan and Bell take a look on board here with the 63, and you'll see how close he's getting to Bell as the battle progresses, and Deitch is right ahead of him.
He dives to the inside and gets out of everyone's way. This is a heck of a battle. They kind of bumped into each other on the restart, and now Sullivan's back battling Bell, and I'm sure they get into another situation where they make contact. I'm sure Liam's going to be less forgiving.
With that being said, it looks like O'Sullivan actually going to wiggle through the corner last time by, and not going to help him at all. So as such, going to be a big gain again for Pedro Bell, and he's going to be once again firmly in 6th here, whereas Joshua Tucker is maybe starting to make some gains here on Julian. It's about 1/4 of a second right now. Nothing too crazy, but definitely getting closer as the laps have wound down. Tucker here still going to be just within a 0.5 second. Been a fluctuating gap. Had a little bit of a gain in the past few laps, but with Michael Deitch out of the way and really no lapper to rely upon, not much else these drivers can do but continue to keep on going, waiting for another opportunity. 56 laps to go. Mark Murphy's been solidly in 3rd. Jesper Orman is there in 2nd, and your leading driver is still Bruno Miranda. Looks like nobody taking that position away from him ever since he got there. He has been your race leader. He's coming up once again on the lap machine with Dan Ench, though, and every time there's a lapper, Jesper Orman draws nearer and nearer. Once again, there's a big chance here as Ench is going to come across the stripe. I think we're going to see something as the start-finish line is busy, and Miranda goes right by on the bottom.
Yeah, Ench stays high through 1 and 2. Everyone passes him down low on the exit of 2. So Orman was within a couple of tenths. Now he's back to 4 tenths, coming down the straightaway. We are on those doldrum dog day laps of the middle of a race right now, and it doesn't help when there's only 9 cars right now. People are like, 9 cars, that's horrible. Yeah, keep in mind, in the old IndyCar days, back in the 70s and 80s, to see less than 10 cars running at the end of a finish was kind of a normal thing, mainly because that was just down to engine reliability, and the cars weren't as built as firm as they are today. To see a IndyCar engine erupt at all is a rare thing these days, and of course they very rarely do it in the sim as well. I've seen a couple of times if it happened, but never have I really seen it happen on a regular basis, that's for sure. We're in those periods where we're just making laps, minimizing mistakes, thinking about that last pit stop, getting on and off pit road, managing the lap traffic. That's where you're kind of thinking at this point. Orman hasn't had a real challenge to Miranda yet. Here comes, both of them are going to pit at 150. This will be the final stop. And here comes Julian, and here comes Tucker. So Murph stays out. He's going to pick up the lead. Bell stays out.
And a big
I don't think there's no way that Murph can make it to the end. Yeah, sorry, I didn't cut you off. There's no way that Murph's going to make it in. Yeah, here he's coming to pit now. He's going to go an extra lap.
So Mark Murphy goes to later. And it looks like most else went on 150 exactly. Now, it's Pedro by Bell. Everyone's waiting on the final driver to stay out here. We'll see how much longer he lasts, as he's got himself up in front and is set to perhaps come in this time by. He throws out the signal, and he'll be making it into the pit road this time through. So by Bell makes it in, and as such, Bruno Miranda will cycle out to lead once again. So Miranda, he has control even still.
Oh, nice spinning on pit road. Bell kind of missed his marks. I'm sure that seeing a car sideways on pit road was a little distracting, but he's now up on the jacks and getting full service. So Miranda now back to the lead. So these guys pitted a little bit earlier than I thought they would. I was kind of expecting some more caution there, but not so much. So about 20 laps earlier than I thought they would.
I think the idea for them is to split these final 100 laps, as we've been green for the most of this section of the race. The second half, all green so far. It's going to be a 50-50 split with what's left, instead of going later at about lap 170. Once again, Miranda's got that race lead, as you mentioned. Jesper Oorman running in second. And right now, Oorman actually losing time as a result of that pit cycle. He was as close as about 5/10 of a second previously. Now more like 8.5 tenths up to 9. So no major gains, as Oorman actually losing more time here. It looks like Jesper Oorman losing the time to Bruno Miranda, and Bruno pulling away once again. Looks to be a consistent threat. Bruno Miranda is on these ovals and is going for what could be yet another victory on the campaign. But still, 46 laps to go, make it 45. It's not sealed just yet. The job is by far not done.
Well, I mean, this is shaping up to be a good points day in the championship for Bruno. He's looking at he's a 6-point leader over Forsyth, who was not here today. He was 15 points up on Julian. Julian's stuck in 4th right now, so if the race were to finish right now, he would be extending the lead over Julian. Jesper is P4, down 78 points, and actually tied for 4th with Pedro Babel. And so Jesper will be losing a little ground to him, not as much as Pedro will be. Pedro's back in 7th, but he'll be losing some major ground to Miranda. Looking at good points today. He finishes right here. He's all his key competitors he'll be extending the lead on.
So Miranda set to definitely grow that championship lead. Julian running in 4th right now, and we thought that through the first half, Julian was the dominant driver, but as of late, it looks like it's turning back in the favor of Bruno Miranda yet again. Mark Murphy remains in 3rd. It's still the same podium. The big development is still between Pedro Babel and Liam O'Sullivan, the final drivers here on the lead lap, and they've been battling each other for most of this race, giving each other a lot of time to go back and forth. Michael Deitch now in between the both of them. Babel will go up top to try to pass that number 51, and Deitch, who's been on controller today, not to mention, of course, a rookie, but also on controller, still gets out of the way here, and he runs in 8th, 2 laps down, as the lead lappers get by once again.
Oh, he's on a controller today. That's a first. I don't think we've ever had anyone in the VOR League ever use a controller.
Well, as we take a look on board right now, and you can see the little bit of the motions here for the number 51. It's not as intricate as a wheel, so going back and forth with little room, and you can see those twitches, and that's how you can tell it's a controller if you look on board with Michael Deitch. And he's a driver who's gotten used to running on controller as opposed to wheel. Matter of fact, ran in the NASCAR College Series C main just a few nights ago, finished 2nd there. And even though he's on a controller, he's been able to make use of it quite well, just some success here in sim racing. So it's tricky, of course, with these open wheel cars and how quick they are. It might be finicky, but so far it's worked out well for Deitch, who still runs within the top 10 when all is said and done.
Now, we have had some drivers before in the league in the past drive with have to use hand controls because of some foot surgery. Craig Forsyth actually had to do that for a very long time a couple years ago, where he had some foot surgery, so drove all of his races with hand controls. So throttle and shifting and absolutely everything had to be on the steering wheel for him.
controllers, of course, so much different here when it comes to sim racing because you have very little room. They're using the analog sticks as the entire wheel, so it's almost like you have every degree of freedom all within about 1 inch of a range. So it's so much trickier to have those intricacies put together.
Yeah.
And for Deitch, I mean, I know that he's not been able to keep up with the pace overall of most of these drivers, but still, avoiding wrecks is what mattered tonight, and he is one of now just 8 drivers, or rather 9 on the track when we go back to Dan Ench. Dan is 11 laps down, Michael Deitch 2 down, and the rest of your field on the lead lap.
Yeah, I mean, Deitch just putting down 21 sevens with a controller. Everyone else is doing, 21s as well, 21 threes and 21 fours. But still, I mean, he's in the same second bracket. He's not considerably that much slower than everyone around them. So yeah, good show.
And right now we're seeing the battle once again flare up between Bybel and O'Sullivan, who have been the closest all race long ever since that lap 98 caution. And even though Bybel hasn't found a way around just yet, he's definitely keeping Liam O'Sullivan honest here. And you can see them come across the final corner yet again. It's 33 laps to go now for these drivers we're looking at, and they're still 0.2 of a second apart. Everyone else has found their own realm. It looks like nobody else within 1 second of another driver, except maybe Jesper Orman at times. I mean, the gap is about 1.1 seconds, he and Bruno Miranda, but otherwise, everyone is comfortably locked into a position, except for those who are fighting for 6th right now. The battle for 6th place remains the closest, and the rest of your field slowly but surely getting more comfortable where they are. We'll see how much longer that lasts, though, as Michael Deitch might be put down a lap again. Dan Ench, perhaps more of the same one more time as the race goes on. Still, lap 170, so there's a lot of room for things to change and things to happen as the race progresses.
Yeah, a lot of these guys just want these last 30 laps to click off, and they'll go pretty quick. I mean, at 22 seconds a lap, 30 of them we won't be here much longer, folks. But right now, unless Orman can figure out how to make some ground and pass Miranda, I really think track position is going to rule the day here, unless there's another caution as well towards the end of this thing. If I was Miranda, though, if there was a caution late in the race, I'd just stay out. I think track position and the aero wash behind you is that powerful to keep everyone at bay.
Looking further throughout the field, that aero wash really keeping Bybel behind. 29 laps to go, still trying to get somewhere. Well, Joshua Tucker has actually made some gains. Most recently, Julian Altena and Joshua Tucker got by Dan Ench once again. And what happened here is I believe that Julian Altena actually got into the slipstream as the caution flies for Michael Deitch. And there's trouble once again on the circuit. Michael Deitch brings out the caution with 28 laps to go. That changes just about everything.
Yeah, it looks like just getting loose on corner exit.
And we're looking at it one more time here for the driver who's running 8th. And you're going to see it. It looks like once again, turns 1 and 2, getting loose. And that's where it all goes much worse.
Yeah, I'm not sure if how the feedback on those analog sticks works, if he could have felt any of that. But I know if you had a force feedback wheel, you could certainly feel their car is getting easier to turn. That means you're going to go into oversteer, which kind of happened to him there, and then proceeded the back end to kind of come around. So now, yeah, I think I don't. If I'm the leader, I don't pit, but I'm not the leader, so we'll see what happens. I think most everyone does a pump fake to pit road. We might have one taker to pit road, Altena. So Julian will try for a new set of tires and storm through the field on a last-ditch attempt. His teammate Bybel also is in there as well. And at that point, certainly for Bybel, Julian's given up track position, which is I'm kind of shocked that he is, unless he looked at his tires and thought, oh, they're spent. I just can't do this. He's getting a new set, but Bybel being at the end of the lead lap has nothing to lose. So just go in, get a new set of freshies, come out and try to run them down in this last 25 lap period. I don't think he'll get to Miranda, but he might get 3 or 4 spots. We'll see.
It's a big risk, and I don't know whether or not he was expecting to fake with the rest of the field because nobody else went into pit road save for he and Bybel. And right now, it's a total of 7 drivers on the lead lap. Michael Deitch 5 laps down. And I think Dan Ench has a real chance of passing him here. But Dan's going to come down to pit road once again, get some additional service, and he will get a little more of a refreshment as well. 10 laps down. I think for Ench, unfortunately, his chances at going on the lead lap are all but unfortunately done for tonight. He still fought and runs in 9th, but just does not look like it's going to play out too well as Dan gets back on the way. One more spot to gain for him if he can get by Michael Deitch before it's all done, though. 25 laps to go.
Yeah, I'm not sure. With 25 laps to go, I'm not sure that Julian and Pedro got any fuel added to their system. I think they were just tires. I go tires only, really. There's no point in adding any more fuel. They're probably fueled to make the distance anyway, so if they be adding more fuel, they'll just be adding weight to the car, and they don't want to do that. So I think we're getting ready to go green.
And that we are, with Bruno Miranda up in front. It's going to be Miranda and Orman, your new top 2, who have held this race since the second half, hoping to do it once again. Miranda going to get the jump, and it looks like he's not going to be as clear as previous restarts, but good enough for another 3/10 jump again.
Jesper was not allowing it. He was right up there. His nose was underneath the attenuator. He was that close to Bruno. He was not allowing it. This is the last best chance for Jesper to try to get this from worst to first, drive to the front, and victory. So I don't think he'll have another chance after this. Maybe another caution, we'll see, but I don't think he'll get another chance after this.
Chances are slim for another caution, but with cautions breeding cautions tonight, maybe there's still a chance. Julian runs in 6th right now, so I don't quite know what the game plan is here. As you can see, new tires and all, it's still going to be tricky with that air coming into play, and I think now Julian's going to be washing back further. Not at all was wanted out of that number 11 crew as they went down to pit road. However, for Miranda, 22 laps to go, still holding the race lead. I don't think anything has changed here.
Purple.
And you can see Orman starting to fade back.
Last lap was purple for Miranda, 20.949. The fastest lap of the race was just turned in the closing stages here by the Brazilian Storm. Closers be closing, as they say.
And putting up those fast laps so late in the going just goes to show how dedicated Miranda is now to making this happen with so little time on the board. I mean, Orman has been quick, has gained so much, but it's going to take a lot to keep him at bay here, but it might take a caution. And of course, we'll see if Mark Murphy and Joshua Tucker can keep it clean, as you can see them diving in for the same racing real estate down to the bottom side for Joshua Tucker. They do make contact, and that's the first time they've made such a contact, at least in this battle so far. However, might come out a bit more, and it looks like Mark Murphy gets away, but just barely. Tucker now going to look for some racing real estate.
Thinking about sending it down there in 3. Probably not a good idea, backing out of it.
And now Julian, similar battle further on back. You can see that's the number 63 of Liam O'Sullivan, and Julian will make it by for 5th, so taking 1 spot, and now maybe looking for another. Julian's got to make these positions up fast, though, with 18 laps to go. Maybe there's a chance here to podium if this number 11 stays quick, but I'm not quite sure what can be done as Joshua Tucker and Mark Murphy continue to fight. Lap machines are all out of frame. Michael Deitch looks to be done for the night, so Dan Ench will jump up into the 8th position, and for the time being, it's Miranda and Orman still within 4/10. How about that? These two drivers not going to be getting away from each other anytime soon, but the final stretch, we've made it there. It's going to be now or never if Jesper has anything left.
So yeah, Julian on 10-lap old tires. Everybody in front of him, 33 or 34-lap old tires. So this just tells you the power of the aero wash. That's ooh, and then watching the battle back there by Pedro Bybel and O'Sullivan. Bybel, bit of a block on O'Sullivan. Bit of a weave there. We'll see if that. I have to go back and look and see if it was an actual block, but definitely a block going into that corner for sure.
And that block might be enough to hold off O'Sullivan for the next 5 or so laps. The aero wash, such a big deal tonight that even one small move can really make the difference for a driver as the race progresses. So that block might have just put this battle to rest, but you can't confirm that given how much time there is still remaining. 14 laps to go this time by, coming down only 13, and Bruno Miranda still holds control. One driver who's gaining, however, looks to be Julian, and now getting right back up to Joshua Tucker. So maybe Julian's going to be able to even out and at least finish in 4th, if not getting up there to 3rd. It was a risky call to get those tires, but all of a sudden, it looks like now Altona and Bybell, respectively, are making up time, and it's now going to be Julian within about 0.3 of a second, putting the power down, and down the back straightaway, it's going to be a gap just about 0.3 flat.
Tucker's rearview mirror is very, very full.
And the distance continues to close between these two drivers with now only 11 laps remaining. It's only going to be more and more pressure as the final laps come forth. And I think now for Julian, you cannot let off. It's going to be a full-on onslaught till the end. And the same goes here for Jesper Orman, who has to find a way. If there's any chance of taking the win, it's got to be found here and now. Looks a little bit higher through the groove that time by, as opposed to taking the bottom, and builds a little more momentum down the backstretch. That time by, Orman was about 6/100ths of a second faster than Bruno Miranda. So maybe there's a chance as they're tossing and turning back and forth with 9 laps remaining.
Yeah, every single lap, push, push, push. Push as hard as you can.
As we saw before, Dan Ench, the lapper, we're watching him right now. If this lap machine gets involved with the aerodynamics of your leader, the entire battle up in front, it may change. And it might go in the favor of Jesper Orman here, and he has a chance to gain a 10th or 2. Miranda, coming up on Ench, is going to be able to quickly pass by, so no trouble there. And just like that, 7 laps to go, and they're going to make it quickly by as Bruno Miranda has the race lead. It's about 3.5 tenths. Nowhere near enough, I think, for Jesper to have a real shot.
Yeah, but he made up some time. You can physically see the gap getting shorter and shorter. Now, whether he can get there and make that pass, that's the other question.
Now, don't quite know if that's going to be possible still with 5 to go, as you said. And 5 laps remaining here as they come across once again the Milwaukee 200. All comes down to this. Jesper Orman going to be there, hopefully getting a chance to go back at it. But for him, half a second is far too much distance to climb back, at least on his own. He's going to have to work through these final 4 laps, maybe with a chance to do so if he pushes hard. But even aggression right now doesn't seem to be the answer, as that aerodynamic factor has been so important from start to finish here. Miranda still has the lead and will come across the front straightaway with it. 3 laps remain.
3 more miles. Just hit your marks. There should be no one in front to be any lap traffic or impede. Yeah, I think everybody's on pit road that they need to be on pit road, and not going to be an issue. But Jesper giving it all she's got. Almost getting to the wall that time by. 2 to go. Bruno looking squarely at his, I believe this will be his 2nd win of the season.
I think right now he's on pace for just that. We saw him win at Phoenix previously, getting it done at an oval, and with the white flag out, final opportunity for Jesper Orman. You'll see him go higher through the groove once again, takes it down to the bottom of the seam, but it's only 2 turns here for Bruno Miranda. His distance to victory, less than half a mile. Orman gonna send it deep and take it through the corner, but it's nowhere near enough, and as the checkered flag flies, Bruno Miranda will win from the Milwaukee Mile, taking the checkered flag with a dominant 100-lap stretch. He takes the second half by storm and collects the victory as it matters the most. Uhrmann and Mark Murphy make up the podium, and the checkered flag falls for Bruno Miranda.
Yeah, everything worked the way that he wanted it to, maximize all those points. He did have the fastest lap. I believe that's another point. If not, I can't remember the rule set. It might be another point. It will be next season, I think. Yeah, what he needed to happen is outscore those guys and extend the lead. That's exactly what he did. So we're still in the first half of the season, but starting to build up a bit of a buffer that he can protect himself as we get into some more difficult races in the second half.
And the number 78 burning down the house here tonight. It's Bruno Miranda's victory yet again, and he's been a threat of the oval so far this season and pulls through once more. How about that for Miranda and company at Roar Esports, burning it down to the start-finish line, and the victory at Milwaukee is theirs. Let's take a look at those race results to conclude the night of action, and you'll see them go as follows. Race winner Bruno Miranda gonna get it done over Jesper Uhrmann in second, Mark Murphy third, Joshua Tucker in fourth, and Julian Altena rounding out the top five. Gonna be sixth, Pedro Bibel, and seventh, the final man on that lead lap, Liam O'Sullivan, and it's going to be then from there, the eighth position, Dan Ench, Michael Deitch is gonna be ninth, and to round out the top 10, it will be Patrick Zovazzi.
Yeah, the remainder of the fields, Lovern 11th, Kinder 12th, Colley 13th, Vanden Bosch 14th, DeCuna 15th, Boney 16th, Hunter Smith 17th, and Christensen 18th. Bulk of those guys are just wanting to put this race behind them and move on to Road America here, which is next week, I think.
And that it is. Next event going to be next Saturday. So for a few of these drivers, they definitely want to look forward to that and put this race behind them. But we'll talk to three drivers who I'm sure are happy with their performances. And we'll start, hopefully, with a comment from Mark Murphy, our third place driver. Let's see if he's here in the broadcast booth or if we can get him in at the very least.
I'll get him in here.
And it looks like now, Mark Murphy, he's waiting to get a word. So, Gary, you're standing by with our third place finisher.
Hey, Murph, how was the race first car? And also, really looked like it was hard to make any progress out there. Aero wash just looked awful.
Yeah, it kind of was, Gary. It seemed like if you got after about 5 laps,
Yeah.
when you got into somebody's wake, the nose is almost like a unlimited hydroplane race boat where the nose would just unhook and the rear was still playing it, but the nose just wanted to head to the wall, and it was interesting at times, but just glad to have finished, glad to have been on the podium. Jesper and Bruno just had a gear I didn't have, but glad to be best of the rest for sure.
Well, best in class, but it's good to be on the podium. Shout out to anyone I want to say hi to. I know you kind of sound exhausted. You've had a long day.
Yeah, it's I did Montreal right before this, and we ran 5th in the second split, so that's a really good
Nice.
result. It's a really good road race result for me. I don't like to turn right, so really happy with that result. And I got to thank everybody at Black Magic Designs. I got to thank you, Gary, putting your name on my car. It's I didn't wreck it tonight, so I wreck it today. So that's a good deal. We brought back an intact Dallara, which we didn't do Thursday at New Hampshire, but just happy and happy to have finished. And I think I'm gonna go have a beer.
Yeah.
Get Jesper and Bruno up here. Them guys, you want to talk to them, see how they got that extra 10th, man, because I sure as heck didn't have it.
All right, you got it. Congratulations on the P3, and shall we see you at Road America next week?
Yeah, you'll see me. I won't be anywhere near P3, but you'll see me there.
Every IndyCar driver knows Road America like the back of their hand. You'll probably be doing a lot better than what you think, but I'm sure we'll catch you there. Congrats on the P3, man. Go get yourself a beer.
Yeah, thanks, Gary. You have a good night. You hear?
Yeah. And we'll bring down Jesper for you. All right. Hey, Jesper. I guess according to Mark, you had a bit of an extra gear. He couldn't keep up with you guys, but man, as soon as you got to that aero wash of the car in front of you, it was like a wall. There was nothing pulling you forward after that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was trying the inside a little bit. I felt like I had a little bit better rotation than Bruno, but I mean, all credits to him. He kept me behind. I was pushing a lot. I mean, pushing hard. So all credit to him. He deserved the win.
Beyond that, you did make some hay at some point. You passed everybody to get the P3 or P2 eventually. What was the early stages like? Just getting into a routine. 5-6 laps caution, 5-6 lap caution. That had to be pretty aggravating there early on. It was making you positions, but it's hard to get into the rhythm when that happens, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I had 0 laps of practice, so I just treated the first 20, 30, 40, 50 laps as practice, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew how the car would behave when it really mattered. I mean, I had a chance to win if I had not taken tires in that. I think it was like the second last caution, with 100 laps to go, whatever it was. If I had not taken tires there, maybe, no, actually, if I had stayed out, that's what I was going to say, because I didn't take tires, and so didn't Bruno. So if I had stayed out, I would have been 2 gallons short, but maybe I could have made it work anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where he won the race. I mean, I was really, really pushed. I'm pretty good at this track, and he kept me behind for 100 laps. So nothing I can do.
Yeah, don't sound too disappointed. The P2 is still pretty good after everything said and done with. Certainly, without any practice laps. That's
sure.
Typical of you. Like, oh, I didn't practice, and all of a sudden, no practice, but I'm on the podium.
Yeah, I mean, it happens.
But shout outs. I know you got some teammates and stuff that you want to thank. Some other series, so go right ahead.
Yeah. Really looking forward to this next season. We got a couple of people coming back, hopefully.
Nice.
Some inactive drivers can come back, so really looking forward to that. So future's looking bright for IR.
All right, well, there you have it. Jesper Orman, P2, almost did the worst from first strategy again, but worst to second. I know he feels a little bad for it, but you know what? If I was in your shoes, I certainly would take it. So congratulations, and we'll catch you at Road America. We know you're pretty good there. We'll catch you at Road America here next race.
Absolutely.
But Jesper Orman on the way, only one other driver to speak to tonight, and I'll tell you this much. For Bruno Miranda, he's been a threat so far in the ovals and did so once again. Another victory here, taking the left turns. Bruno, you win at Milwaukee. What's it like collecting another checkered flag and extending your points lead?
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Gary. Today, very hard, very difficult to win this race. Jasper is a very fast guy. Julian too, and this race, I think on strategy, I used the strategy to win because I don't have a velocity to stay here because this track is very difficult to pass. So I use this from win. So I'm very happy today because my strategy is working again. So thank you.
We saw how big that strategy was. You mentioned it. The clean air helped you so big on the final 100 laps, and you dominated from there. What was it like as the leader compared to being in the pack where you had to drive with other people?
I stay in front. I think it's more easy to stay in the traffic. The traffic is not okay because I have some drafty, some turbulence, and the tires begun more fast. So I think when I stay in the front, the defense use the fast laps. I think more easy to stay there.
A big race for this team. Now you're up 36 points going into the next one at Road America. So we've seen you quick all around the season. Do you think there's a chance maybe to go for another run at victory lane?
I don't know, because here in this league, very fast guys. Pedro Badel, Julian Octane, Joshua Turkey, um, I think Patrick Silvazzi, Jasper Orman in roads. I think these guys so very fast. So I try to stay in top five. I think is more. I think is the best result for. I hope the next week.
And hoping to keep it consistent already with a big points gap going into the next event. Bruno Miranda, if you have anyone else to shout out, be sure to let us know.
Yeah, for championship, I think this results is very very important. Stay yeah, for this gap for second place. I think is more important to stay and have a stay on this top five. I think is very important for our next race.
And hoping to keep up the good work. Bruno Miranda, your winner here from Milwaukee. Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you, there. Thank you, David. Thank you, Gary. Sorry for my bad English. I
Don't
tried.
worry about it.
I
Don't
tried.
worry about it.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you, my Team Roa. I thank you, Gregorio Drosso, for my team owner. So thank you very much, everybody, to stay here to see the race.
And there we have it. Bruno Miranda dominant at the very end of this one, and he pulls away with a 36-point lead, as we mentioned, over Julian Altena coming into Road America next week. It's an advantage that continues to build here. So, Gary, with that being said, any final thoughts to wrap up the racing here in Milwaukee?
Well, I tell you what, I don't think much ground will be made by just about anybody unless some bad luck happens at Road America. As I was telling kind of Jesper and also talking with Murph about this, is that every IndyCar driver knows Road America because we've driven so many laps at that place. Even I have, and I'm not an oval guy. Everybody, we know that track with like the back of our hand. We could probably drive it with our eyes shut. We've been on it so much. We just really know Road America. And I expect Road America to be very, very tight in terms of qualifications. And there's really hard to pull off strategy at Road America because really 14, 15 laps is really all you can do for a stint there. And even when you try to extend it, you can only really extend it by a lap or, two at most, but it's no big window and you're not going to see full course yellows at the place because it's so big. So I expect everybody to be going and pressing hard next week. You're going to use this time after this race to relax. It was a frustrating race. The aero wash was murder on everybody. And next week it's going to be just as hard because everyone is looking at a track that they pretty much should know through their sleep. A very familiar track. So next week is going to be a key week. I don't think anyone's going to really make up a lot, but we'll see. And I'll be here, and I'm looking forward to it because Road America is a classic, traditional IndyCar track.
And hoping to head back to tradition, but this time again with a road course. That's next Saturday here in the IR-18 series. And tell you this much, the exciting championship hunt keeps on going. Bruno Miranda, now your clear leader, but doesn't mean that's going to change with another race at Elkhart Lake. Tell you this much, if you're going to stay tuned, be sure to check out Saturday Night Thunder as we head to Homestead Miami Speedway later tonight. We'd love to have you there for our second event tonight on FTN. I've been David Kreutz alongside Gary Godso, covering all of the night's action here in the VOR IR-18 series, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's coverage. If you did, be sure to leave a like on the stream and subscribe to the channel. Your support is always greatly appreciated, and we hope to see you whenever we're live again on FTN.